Welcome to Enso Consulting's YouTube channel. I'm Dr. Greg Usher. It amazes me when people tell me that they don't have enough time to achieve the things they want from life. In fact, this entire video is my way of calling BS on that whole statement. And if I do my job right, by the time you'll finish watching this video, your understanding of time management will be altered forever. So welcome to Dr. Greg's Guide to the 3 mindsets that you need for better time management. Now I'm going to tell you straight out of the gate that I'm not interested in giving you tips and tricks and tools to help you manage your time better. I'm here to change the way you think about time and to show you that those tips, things like have a set time of the day when you respond to emails, don't really change anything. What I'm going to tell you is that there are 3 mindsets that you need to adopt if you want to have enough time to achieve any goal you want. So let me get started by asking you one simple question. What is time? Now you probably think you know everything there is to know about time, right? Well, did you know that time today is different to what it was 100 years ago? And that was different to what it was 10,000 years ago. Time is what philosophers call an abstract concept. In one sense, it doesn't actually exist in and of itself. You can't go to the shop and buy a carton of time. You can't deposit some time in the time bank so that you can take it out later to do something that you forgot to do yesterday. Because philosophically, it doesn't actually exist in any tangible sense. The idea of time is just a measuring tool that people made up to help them understand and organise their life. If you lived in Egypt in the year 3500 BC, could you have met your friend Anakhati at 9:30 in the morning to discuss the delays in the Pharaoh Tati's pyramid project? The simple fact is no, you couldn't. And do you know why? Because there was no such thing as 9:30 in the morning. You see, for most of human history, let's say about 98%, there was no 9:30 AM or 2 PM or even 10 o'clock at night. For most of our history, the smallest unit of time was either day or night. We came up with the idea of months, which are measured according to the lunar cycle, and years, which are measured by our rotation around the sun. But for most of human history, time in the form of hours, minutes and seconds simply didn't exist. Our perception of time, at least in the modern era, was forever altered because of 2 seemingly unrelated events. The first is that Samuel Morse's wife died. Now when Samuel Morse got the message via the Pony Express that his wife had passed away, he also realised that by the time he got the message, her funeral had already occurred. So Samuel set about creating the world's first instant messaging system, a way that messages could be sent across vast distances almost instantly. This invention immediately changed people's understanding of time because they realised that time in one spot was not the same as a time in another spot. There was another small thing happening about this time that changed the way we understand the concept. It's just a little thing called the Industrial Revolution. At the same time that Samuel Morse was messing around with humanity's definition of time, developing economies were dealing with the Industrial Revolution. This revolution saw many people leaving behind their agricultural-based way of life and taking up work in the newfangled factories. The problem was, however, that on the farm, time is governed by the sun, moon and seasons. But in the factory, it was governed by how long people were actually at work. So we needed a way of keeping score. Things like when you arrived, how long you worked and when you left. Because now our pay was linked to time, not the quality of our harvest. And because the financial stability of your family is now linked to time, we wanted to make sure that we were getting what we were owed. So we began to carve up time into smaller and smaller units. And it's an addiction that continues to this day, with the rise of nanoseconds and Planck time. So you see, time is not the concrete concept that you think it is. Not only did humans invent it, but we also keep changing the rules on what it is and how we measure it. So in one sense, we can all agree that time has changed. But paradoxically, in many ways, it's always been the same. You see, there is one other inescapable attribute of time that you need to understand in order to be able to discuss the concept of time management. And it's this. Unless this is your first day on Earth, or your last, you have exactly the same amount of time in every day as every other person on the face of the earth. Regardless of where you're born, which country you live in, the level of education, we all only get 86,400 seconds every day in order to achieve our goals. No more, no less. No one can buy more, and regardless of how you spend it, you don't actually have any less time than anyone else. So understanding these two attributes of time, that time itself is created and manipulated by society, and everybody has exactly the same amount of time, helps us to see that at the core of any discussion of time management is actually your perception of what your time is. In other words, time management has more to do with the way that you view time than it does with any gimmicks, tricks or tips. So let's look at the 3 mindsets that you're going to need in order to be more effective at time management. Time management mindset number 1, mindfulness. I find one of the main reasons why people are poor time managers is that they never give themselves the present of being present in the present. Let me ask you this question. If you set aside time to do something important, how much of that time do you usually spend actually focusing on the thing that you set aside the time to do? According to an independent study conducted in 2017, an adult in a first world country has the attention span ranging somewhere from 7 to 14 minutes, with the longest attention span related to business meetings, and the shortest attention span, frighteningly enough, registered while driving. So unless the thing that you're about to do is going to take you less than 7 minutes, I can almost guarantee you that you will lose focus before it's done. For me, this lack of focus usually sees me thinking about things that I have to do, or reliving things that I've already done, or daydreaming about something that I would rather be doing. So what's happening? Well, I'm not actually spending my time by being present in the present. The Dalai Lama once said, mankind is so anxious about the future that he does not enjoy the present. The result being that he does not live in the present or in the future. He lives as if he is never going to die, only to find that he has never really lived. Because we create and manipulate time, we actually can get to decide where we will spend it, either in the past, in the future, or exactly when we are. I've found that the people who seem to get the most done in their day are the ones who have the ability to remain present in the present. Their minds are focused on the task at hand, and when that's done, they move on to the next one, but not before. But what about multitasking, I can hear you say? Well, here's an interesting fact. A 2009 Stanford University study found that people who claimed to be multitaskers were less mentally organised, struggled to switch from one task to another, and had a harder time differentiating between relevant and irrelevant details. And a study from Bryan College estimated that the act of trying to do more than one task at a time actually cost the US economy about $450 million per year in lost productivity. Here's the plain and simple truth. Your brain simply cannot focus on more than one task at a time. What we call multitasking is really just our brains losing focus and shifting from one task to another. So time management mindset number 1 is this, mindfulness. Time management mindset number 2 is prioritisation. Now, because everyone has the same amount of time as the person sitting next to them, we have to ask the question, why do some people regularly seem to achieve more with their time? As humans, we would like to think that these people have some genetic advantage that we don't. I mean, maybe they're smarter, or they had a better education. Maybe they process information quicker, or they're just lucky when it comes to getting things done. An explanation like that would certainly make me feel a lot better about why I'm not achieving all my goals. But unfortunately, it's simply not true. The plain harsh truth is this. The reason why some people get more done in the day than you do is that they choose to get more done in the day. These people have learned how to prioritise their actions to get the most results from the time that they have available. Now, this is not the same thing as working all the time. You see, there are times when I choose to relax. I mean, I like to Netflix and chill with the best of them. The problem is when I'm chilling, but I should be doing something else. Now, let's be clear. I'm not talking about procrastinating. That's something different. That's just choosing not to get started. I'm talking about failing to prioritise your actions, so that you end up losing time on things that give you less than an optimal outcome. I'm talking about walking into work in the morning and choosing to read your emails from last night and end up spending 45 minutes putting out fires rather than choosing to finish that board report or the sales presentation. You're not procrastinating, you jump straight into work, but you have forgotten the second most important thing about time management. If you aren't creating your priorities, then someone else is creating them for you. Let's look at time management mindset number 3, and that is to put a value on your time. Miles Davis once said, "Time isn't the main thing, it's the only thing." One of the major challenges that we all face when it comes to effective time management is that our time appears to be given to us for free, so we fail to give it the same respect as we do with things like money. Which is ironic, of course, because you can always make more money, but you can never make more time. In order to become a really good time manager, you have to start putting value on your time. Now, I'm a consultant. I'm intimately aware of what my charge out rate is, which is simply just another way of saying that I have a particular value that I place on my time. One thing that really irritates my wife is when she asks me to do something around the house and I tell her that strictly from an economic point of view, I would get a better return on investment if I hired someone with a lower charge out rate to do the work for me. Now, for some reason this makes her angry. I don't know, go figure. Before you can really learn to manage your time, you first have to value that time. And I'm not talking about going out and giving your life partner an invoice for every hour you spent mowing the lawn. Think of that more as an investment in relational harmony. I'm talking about actually expecting a return on your investment of your time. One of the ways I get my general managers to focus on getting an ROI for their time is to think of themselves as force multipliers. What I mean is this: think of how you can best invest your time in order to get a better order of magnitude return. For example, if you come into work in the morning and spend an hour answering emails, you get 1 hour of work done. In other words, you've created a 1-for-1 return on your time. But if you spent the first hour of your day delegating work to 10 team members and that kept them busy all day, then your 1 hour investment has resulted in 10 people doing 8 hours work, and your return on investment has increased 80-fold. Now, if I told you that I could get an ROI of 80 times your investment with your money, you'd already be logging onto your bank account to transfer every spare dollar that you have to me. And yet, when it comes to time, we don't even stop to think about what the return on investment should be. Why? Because we've never learned to value our time. So let's wrap this up. The simple fact is that effective time management has more to do with your perception of time than it does with simple tricks, tips or gimmicks. Time is a finite resource. You only have a set amount of it every day, but you can manipulate that time by changing the way you think about it. So if you want to be a more effective time manager, start by nurturing these 3 mindsets. Mindfulness. Make sure that you are present in the present. Prioritisation. Remember, if you aren't creating your priorities, someone else is doing it for you. And finally, put a value on your time. Make sure that you are treating your time as an investment and look for the best ways to increase your ROI. So this has been Dr. Greg's guide to the 3 mindsets that you need for better time management. This has been another presentation from Enso Consulting. If you like this production, please make sure that you subscribe to my channel. And don't forget to hit the notification bell. And here's my LinkedIn details. And lastly, if you did like this presentation, make sure you share it with at least 10 of your friends. Thanks for your time. I'll see you again soon.